the front, no D at the end. And welcome to the Young Girl, the podcast. With today, we're going to be talking about how nature is our greatest teacher for life. A little backstory. Today, I picked some spring onions. Yeah! I picked me some spring onions. And before that, I want first and foremost. Yeah. Before that, I was thinking to myself, I was sitting down, woke up, heard 3, 4 police sirens just pass by. I'm like, what's even going on? It's a Thursday. But I'm sitting down, I'm chilling. I'm like, some classmates of mine are up there in intelligence with me. Like, they are up there. And they can learn and do the same things that I can do. And it's like, why is it that they chose their own way, did their own thing? It was weird. But then after that, I seen that spring onions grew, so I picked me some. Yeah. And then I asked ChatGPT which part of the plant, or specifically, is the green side edible? And lo and behold, it is. Yay, free food. But that isn't what really caught my attention. What really caught my attention was growing roots. And I was like, hold on. Because plants usually do store their nutrients in their roots. That's how they're able to grow back, even if you cut off the entire plant. So now I was like, depending on where the plant is, dictates how it spreads its nutrients. What I mean by that is this. If you're placed somewhere in the cold or tundra, you as a plant wouldn't store your nutrients inside of your roots because the roots would freeze from the cold. You would more likely put it in the stem, the leaves, or the flower / fruit. You would still have the root, but the root would become more dynamic in a way. Or you could, as a plant, have a larger root or a larger bulb that is able to store those nutrients so that even when it freezes over, it cannot freeze that core that is still liquid. It's almost like an ice block that has a little bit of water on the inside. And even in my state of Alabama, where it gets hot here, especially in the summer, well, if I was a plant, I would want to grow where the trees can block out the sun while still allowing some sunlight and some heat. Especially in those long periods of time when the sun does shine, which allows for trees to not only mitigate how much heat and how much UV light the plants get, but they also mitigate and manage how much rainwater they get, depending on if you're in a canopy or not. I say all of that to say this. What I realize is that nature has a survival strategy for each and every one of her plants, depending on where the plants are. And there are two things, not two ways, but two things that really and truly dictate whether or not a plant will be successful or will fail in growth. Number one, their environment. Number two, the plant's response to that environment. Meaning, if you are a plant, how are you going to respond when you see the same thing that happens to other plants of yours, doing the same exact strategy over and over and over again? And what I mean by that, no, I'm not finna over explain it. I am going to take my time with this because when I first realized this, I've seen how so many people, myself included, as well as some people in my past, in my hometown, are just recycling the same strategy over and over and over again. Which is how I've seen literally certain women that resemble my mother in behavior, despite being from different places. That's because of their environment. That's that first sector. That first sector. This is the one that you cannot change. Like, yes, as human beings, we can physically move to a new or another environment, but as a kid and a teenager and a young adult trying to get up on their feet, this is the one thing that is hard to change because physically speaking, as a young adult, really not even as a young adult, as a teenager and a young child, you truly can't move from your environment because you're a kid. For and does that really need explaining? You're a child who barely can take care of themselves. So naturally, you're going to be subjected to your own environment. This is the part that you can't control, no matter what. The second one is what you can control. That's your response to it. And this is where nature truly shines. And that's in her responses. This is how you can have trees, despite being from the same family, the same genus, respond differently to the same exact environment. The same tree, there being two, one can store all of its nutrients in its stem and the other in its roots, and they can behave entirely differently to the point where their family that branch off from their seeds in exhibit those same exact traits based on how their parents and their sub-parents responded to the same exact stimuli of the environment. Meaning, life, and specifically Mother Nature, has shown us time and time and time again how we should not only survive, but thrive. And even Mother Nature is showing us that we can do whatever we want. And these strategies are not necessarily wrong or right. They're unique based on your situation. That's what's so unique about every other human. That's how, and this is where the other ones in the past ties into it. That's how you can have so many of my classmates, and myself included, be up there in intelligence, yet we choose different paths because of it. That's how you can have situations like that. Because our environments do shape us. Like, hands down, our environments do shape us, especially as kids, especially with what we are taught. But the one thing that we are responsible of as human beings who are aware and that can change our own lives, the one thing that we are responsible of is how we respond to that environment. We can deny it, we can fight against it, we can choose to move away from it to go to a better environment. That is how we can change from an old strategy to a new one once we start looking at ourselves as plants. And really, that's how you can have the extremes. I'm gonna push it to the extremes. That's how you can have specific trees like the ones that grow in South America. South America and Africa. There's a specific tree in each region. They're different species, but one is dangerous. Like, the whole entire plant is dangerous. But could you blame it though? And another one is just entirely poisonous. One can physically damage you and have its fruit launch the seeds like a freaking grenade and have it penetrate you, and it's poisonous. The same thing, I wouldn't even say the same thing. The same thing, I think it's in Africa. I'll have to research that, where the tree, every part of it is poisonous, and you don't even have to touch it. You can just be under the tree, and because of the waxy layer of the leaves, when it rains, part of that rain takes on that waxy layer and it gets onto your skin and you start getting poisoned like that from the outside in, which can cause you to pass. And back then I was wondering, like, dang, what would have caused this tree? Like, why, what was God thinking when he was making that tree? And honestly, I don't even think it was God entirely. Like, yeah, God is all of us, even this metal right here. But it was really the plant responding to its external environment to try to protect itself, to try to not only survive but to thrive and to spread its seeds so that its generation can continue. And could you really blame it? Like, if you were a species who constantly were taken advantage of because of your fruit or because of your benefits, especially like if you were poisonous as a plant, if you are poisonous, that means that your parents and your parents' parents had something valuable that the animals kept taking from, and you were the one that stopped that. And really, when I take a step back, I genuinely don't blame certain plants. Like, yeah, Mother Nature is dangerous in that way. I'll be honest, Mother Nature truly is dangerous in that way. But that doesn't mean that it's not for no reason. Sometimes she really does have a reason for doing certain things, whether it's having certain plants be violent or having certain animals behave in a certain way based on how their environment shaped them. And this is where it's so hard for me, especially as a person who mainly is independent. I have to admit that my own environment did shape me into who I am today. But in that same regard, I have the awareness and I have the responsibility as well as the freedom to respond in whatever way I choose that is best for me based on how I know I want to grow. Whereas the environment we cannot change, we can change ourselves. So that even though our environment is harsh, we can not only survive in it, but thrive in it. And maybe that's how I've been just able to live in my car for so long. Yeah, I'll be honest. I'd rather choose to live in a car. Like, I'd rather choose to live in a car now. Like, not in no caravan or no bus type of situation, but just in a car. I truly am comfortable like that based on everything that's been going on with me and my family. Like, I'm more comfortable living in a car than inside of a house. And it's weird. But I know everything that happened to me in my past that led up to this point. So now, even when I get the money, or if I already have it, yeah, I don't know, but when that day comes, I don't even think I'd be able to live in an apartment. No joke. Because the way I've been thriving without needing a bed, without needing space, because what I have is enough for me. And so right now, I think right now I'm able to say this so proudly. I would rather live in a car, even if I have the money, even when I have the money. I would rather live in a car than to buy an apartment or to buy a house. I can say that fully with confidence. I am willing to just live in a car than to choose an apartment or something temporary like that. I'm finally able to be honest with y'all on that. I see y'all as my family. So, in terms of what I choose and how I have to adapt based on how everything is going to change in the future, just know that what you're doing is not necessarily wrong. How your environment shaped you, that's not your fault. You didn't choose that environment. You were just in a messed up situation. And what really ties this up together, especially with the Hello Kitty incident that I did in my previous podcast episode, we can't choose where we're from. We can't choose who we come from. But we can choose who we can become. We don't choose our environment, but we do choose how we respond. And I'll leave it at that. And as I always stay peaceful, blessed up, miracle up, and know that you will appreciate well taken care of by the divine and wonderful Allah, high source of God, as well as everyone that truly and genuinely and deeply cares about you, deeper than the souls. Always remember that here you are loved. We care about you here if no one else does. We do. I do. Know that no matter what, we are always here to give you that listening ear. Don't be afraid to talk to us or with us. We're always here for you when you need us. Community tab is always on my YouTube. Hit it up. We're here for you when you need us. And let me end this off by saying this. Hold on, let me say okay, and give you a hug, because I got to end this off by saying this. How you go about life, that is your choice. That is your response to this environment. You may call this town, your state, your nation, your country, your planet, wherever the case may be, whatever the case may be. Your response is your responsibility. That is what we have, not only as adults, but as human beings. That is our freedom. Our freedom is how we respond. So let's begin to take responsibility in that. Okay? Okay. Now, let me go and see the comments, because, man. You see Sean Strapper, what's goody, what's goody? Yay. And you gave me away. And Crispy, what's goody? My day has been good. And it's out. It is always a shape he said adios.